चल.
Hi Mehak,
Hi Swati.
how are you? Sorry, how have you been?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Not fine also, but then what can one say? It's pretty unprecedented times. So yeah.
Yeah. So, how are you like? How are you managing these times with your health? I mean, health as in physical and mental health. I mean, I'm sure there must be some changes, a lot more changes that are going around you, in you, or they just keep on happening. Everything is kind of changing each time at every moment. So how are you how are you dealing with it? I mean, how are you coping these things together? I mean, or even are you coping them or not? I mean, yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't think I don't think the nature of coping itself is also that you cope, that it gets done, that the nature of coping isn't that. The nature of sort of coping is to keep sort of trying and continuing and living through it all. uh, it does become very hard at times, and the way the personal and the political is clashing right now is something else. Like it it isn't something that hasn't happened before. Political and the personal have clashed, have muddled into just one thing. uh, the understanding of political and personal as this dichotomy, as this thing which is necessary, this binary which is opposite, is very troubling. And but it does come up again and again and again and again within conversation, and to deny that dichotomy and to deny that kind of difference key, it's not a binary, that is and it's not opposites. So yeah, so that's hard. So
No, I
I don't know.
totally
Yeah, I
understand.
don't know how I'm managing. I don't think I'm managing well. If that answers your question, I think I am going through it all, and that has to be good enough for now. Yeah, it's very to have,
No,
like mm, we have. It's very interesting that we have the ability to reflect on our present circumstances while living and going through our present circumstances. But yeah.
yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand what you are trying to say and addressing. And yeah, I mean, you said about this personal and political dichotomy and the conflict one have. So yeah, even this reminds me of the of the events that happened even before this pandemic. I mean, the things that are going through, going around us when we were in the college as well. I mean, the university. So the kind of uh, the kind of bills and the riots that were happening in the same spaces. So that I guess from there this question of personal and political becomes very much obvious, and the conflict that one has with its personal identity and the political becomes on the surface. I mean, it was very much obvious and on the face that we have to we have to face it, we have to see, and we have to address it, and we have to and we have to like, yeah, matlab, you know अभी करना ही पड़ेगा, sort of, कि अभी तुम्हारे पास, you don't have any choice. And if you choose to be quiet, then things just, will remain the way that majority of the people want them to be. But yeah, when this conflicts come in within your own, then you're going to also, then you also sorry, things come up, like, yeah. So उस टाइम पर काफी ऑब्वियस हो जाता है ये सब, इन सब चीजों को और ज्यादा अच्छे से एड्रेस करना. And I totally understand your what you are trying to say. So would you like to address those things as well? I mean, the things that happened before the pandemic, and I mean, the whole. I mean, I just really want to ask, from where this personal and political things have started. I really want to know the core, I mean, the beginning of it, because many of us don't know what you're talking, what you are trying to say today, and where does it come from. So, can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, there are few things that I can answer, and there are few things I don't know the answer to, but I can reflect maybe. Like the things that were happening before the pandemic, they're still happening, they're still continuing. The kind of I remember there's actually a very famous poem. I'm completely forgetting the its name and all, but it sort of goes like you know they came for these people, you didn't talk, you didn't say something because you want them, and then they came for these new people, these another group of people, you didn't say anything because you want them. And then the end, the last stanza is, then they came for you and there was no one left to say or stand up for you, and something like that. And I think and but I and I
Rashid,
think
लेके जाना है यार इसको.
and I think the current situation has just become like the political situation between in India has become where they've come for us, where they've come for everyone who's not this very ideal of Hinduism, who's not standing at the pinnacle of it. Not even people who consider themselves, or who boast themselves to be part of that religion, are safe from it. The way I see it, it really favors a very particular kind of a very particular kind of a person, and and that kind of you know it's in a sense, in very short, it's fascism. And like, it's coming for, when it comes for all of us. It's not sort of going to come for some people and not the others. Everyone is going to experience loss, but some people are going to suffer so much more, and and that's just the nature of it. And the thing is that it has made people's so-called personal business everyone's public business. And like, it's just it's high time that everyone comes to the streets and speaks out. But at the same time, it's not that. And at the same time, I do realize there are a lot of people who want to this call of come to the streets and speak out, wala. Not everyone can respond to it in the same way. Not everyone, there are a lot of uh, uh, issues with the normalizing of the statement of come to the street and talk about it also. Matlab, not everyone can sort of come out and say ki, do it the same way. So people are finding their ways to talk about it, to raise their voices, to say what they want to say and to get out. So that's what I think is happening. Where in terms of where the where this, talking about and considering the personal and the political comes from, is not something that I've, that I've focused, like, that I've put a light on. It's not something that I've invented. And I'd like to say that about, about my work and about other things also. I'm not someone new who's doing something new. And I like to be well aware of that, and like I like to make, viewers be well aware of that. It's not the whatever work is being done is not about the fact that it's something new, that something new is happening, that I'm offering something new to your palettes, which which you haven't experienced before. It's not about that. It's about the context of it. It's about where, in what times, what people are acting within that idea, and that is, and what kind of information, documentation, what kind of results, what kind of tangible things it is creating, and that is what becomes important. uh, the personal and the political, it's just inescapable. It's not something that I bring in per se. It's just a conversation which, mm, which is uh, uh, in the top layer of everything. You can't escape the conversation of personal and the personal, private, public,
Yeah.
all of those
And
things.
it's always been there in the society. I mean, it's always been there out there, and we are now just bringing those elements in our conversations and works, or maybe I mean nowadays we kind of got very comfortable with talking about these things. We are at least talking about these things. So yeah, I understand what you're trying to say. And yeah, you also mentioned this very interesting thing that you said, that there's nothing new that you are doing. And yeah, it's a way, it is true that uh, we are not doing anything new, or we are not even inventing something new. We already, like, in one of our classes where we have Lyotard text, so that they also talk about that, finding the possibility in the material that you already have. That's the new media. I mean, the new media is not about like inventing another medium, but to find out the possibility in that medium only. So that becomes the new media itself. So for that, I really found your project that you started last semester. I mean, this fourth semester, and name it a portrait project. I mean, now I can see that the portrait word in itself was there from I mean, and was there in the art world itself, and even not in the art world, the people are becoming more aware of it. What is a portrait and how they want to portray themselves. So what is the meaning of a portrait, and how much you can you know take the I mean, I don't know what to say it. I mean, uh, मतलब कितना आप और उसको लेके और जा सकते हैं, कितना ज्यादा उसमें आप लिबर्टी ले सकते हैं, कितना उसको एक्सपैंड कर सकते हैं, कितना ओपन अप कर सकते हैं. So some sort of like these things. And it yeah, I mean, you started with a name. The name of your project was a portrait, and how you are doing that, uh, the portrait, and how you are making or remaking or representing or bring, I mean, there's so many rethinks that you are doing in it. So yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in that project as well. Could you like to like share about that project right now? I mean, that is a very
That is the
um,
topic of our discussion.
yeah. We are just finding our ways to,
I like that you could sort of, recognize that where the word portrait was coming from, because a portrait is not necessarily something that belongs to the art world, or that, that just means one thing. It's a very institutionalized word as well. You need a passport photograph, which is supposed to be a portrait. You need on every sort of document, and so portrait of yourself as your identity has sort of had a lot of, you know, there's something that follows it. It has a history, which as soon as you take its name, comes comes to your head. And another thing, also, that it did, so there was an idea to, that began with in the very beginning, or like slight, like it sort of began in my head before, like during the holidays before the semester began, which was this thing of, which was like, I just wanted to have some sense of memorabilia of all of my batchmates, because I was in those moments I was realizing what we had done among ourselves, what we had captured. We are this we are this very close knit batch of 13 people, and and all of us, even if one of us is not continuing with the degree, and right now in the show you only see 12 of us, we are very close knit, and we have been each other's strengths. We fought, we've, there's been all those things, but we've also, discussed very incredible ideas around uh, politics, the way art works, the issues of identity, and all of these things, which somehow someone else couldn't have done with us, because we were also in this, just captured within this bubble, and we try to make that bubble as porous as possible. But then there's a reason a bubble is sort of a bubble, right? We were within an institution together, which sort of were, and really being within that institution, it's not very always possible to sort of go out of its boundaries, and so so I wanted to capture all that, but I wanted all of, like, that, those memorabilia, or like that portraits, which are usually at the end of, the idea was like, when you go through slam books, there's like a small photograph, there's all this miscellaneous information about your friends, and that was kind of the idea key. Our miscellaneous information is something else, is discussions of identity, is intense discussion on anxiety, beauty, and things which begin from conversation about what is normal, what you know um, what Foucault has said, what was written in this Heidegger's text, and what we found in, how we keep going back and bringing back Walter Benjamin, and all these big names, but also like, oh, do you remember what that one professor in this one thing, or do you remember that, moment three of us shared in the canteen while eating something, and like, so there was a lot of layering, which was these intense. Our relationships are, and all of us together, a build up of these intense conversations which we've had as batchmates, and batchmates being something, like, something onto itself, other than friends or family. It was batchmates that become, and there was a lot of layering, and I wanted I wanted a capturing of the visuals, which sort of became an entry point for all of us, or like of an entry point for someone else who's viewing that into what we have encountered together as uh, uh, batchmates, and that was sort of it. And it really just, in the beginning, it really just began as, just wanting to click a portrait of each of my batchmates through this intense collaboration with each of them. I wanted to have even more, so within that visual, I wanted to capture even more discussions of identity, of art, of representation within those portraits and where it was coming from. And how it would look at the end was sort of, a thing of like, oh, how within, uh, like, within this structure of institutional semester, where will I get the space to place it, was a thing. And when the idea of letters had come up within the curation class, it seemed like a very obvious transition for me to sort of, because like, oh, I'll tell the Joburg students uh, uh, about my batchmates, because there's something so intensely uh, personal and political and intimate and about all of that. And so I'll write letters about that, or I'll write like one huge letter with talks of, and then the lockdown happens, and then sort of the concept of distance clashes, the concept of sending a letter collapses, and suddenly I am back home in Punjab. I'm not in Delhi anymore. I don't have that kind of nearness that every day going to the canteen with my batchmates. And it was just that, like, it felt like my batchmates are as far as Johannesburg right now. And like, uh, so it's sort of, and and I felt like, oh, I'm losing touch. And there were so many portraits that were left, that are still left, uh, which I'm sure going to complete. But it has become a longer project in that sense, because conversations have become and hard to have. And so it really needed to change its nature, its structure. It needed to become a flowing thing with not a certain end result. Its post production had to be something that was in flow. So and I was like, oh, I so this idea of writing these letters addressed to my batchmates, and then having this, like, you can reply to a letter can be replied to. So the replies can be from Johannesburg students, can be from anybody, from my own batchmate. And yeah, so the structure came out to be um, through, like, also, like, I wasn't exactly sure what the web space offers. It was also like my time exploring with it. So
Yeah. I mean, coming to that point of uh, having your project in the web space, I think before coming on this virtual space, it has some kind of materiality and the medium. I mean, you also thought about how you're going to like how you want to have this project uh, um, I mean, in its form. I mean, you were sort of like pretty much have an idea how you're going to bring that project in its form. I mean, either in the book form or something else. I mean, you were pretty much uh, uh, kind of clear in your head that yeah, you're going to publish it, or maybe going to have this kind of form with your work. But yeah, again, with this whole change, you brought this up in the virtual space, in the web space itself, and now it has this quality of replying a letter, replying a reply, or replying to a reply to a reply. I mean, there's so many kind of chain it can bring on. So yeah, definitely that project and the space as well help your project to I mean to grow more. And now we are offering it to other students as well. I mean, to the to students of Johannesburg. So yeah, it has so much possibilities in this structure. So so would you like to like tell about how you came up with this idea that you're going to have this project there in the virtual space apart from the physical. Because in my head, when I was planning to write a letter, I was pretty much sure about that I'm going to write the letter in its physical form. I really can't negotiate with the materiality, with the medium, and I didn't. I have that book form. And but yeah, the content changes. I also wrote that letter referring to all of us. But it was, I just can't deal with the change in the materiality or the medium. But you did, and you did it very, very well. And it is like open for not only to us, but to many, many students who can and who are in this last semester, and they are about to graduate, and they are going to like miss each other. So, would you like to like share about how this change in the space happened, and how you managed to decide that, yeah, you're going to share this in this virtual space? I mean, that is the very interesting part of this project.
Yeah, I also had like very strong medium based ideas. It was going to be this, this huge expanse of like a huge like map like letter which I write to the Joburg students, and I sort of get the portraits printed, paste them, and write about my batchmates. And I wanted to have that slam book, personal journal kind of a quality. So I'd collected this tape, and I'd collected and I had this idea for maybe I'll put dried flowers or dried orange peels within it, and like sort of maybe write with a on a colored sheet with a white pen, something that really makes it craft have this crafty sort of element to it. And like um but yeah, so when it was sort of when the pandemic happened and the lockdown happened and we were having online classes, and it was proposed ki you want to think we were to think of the projects now, and in this new space, and how to sort of share them, because sending a letter wouldn't be a possibility and all. And then also it was just that he in that way a letter had to be complete and be sent. Now I was suddenly at this within this dilemma where a lot of I'd only been able to click 4 portraits till then. I was in conversation with, I think, e- everybody except 2 people who I am in conversation with now. And like, so almost being in conversation, 2 projects, I was almost like on the cusp of shooting when the lockdown happened. And so there were a lot of things to consider. One, that whatever forms it takes, it has to be form that is there, that can be added to and taken from, that can be edited within its completeness. And another thing was, it I was very concerned with, oh, how will it reach them, because also there has been a concern within me with making art, where it has been about, there's a certain anxiousness if a certain comfort or if a certain uh, referring to the audience isn't happening. And I wouldn't say that's like, I wouldn't necessarily talk of it in a certain principle or moralistic way at all. But there is a certain anxiousness and a certain presence of the always the thought, oh, how the interaction is going to happen, and how it is going to refer, how is the all those things going to happen. And uh, and I'd mapped out everything within a physical space. And so I knew the reference point, I knew what craftiness, what color tape, and what visually they will refer to. Then I was like, oh, now I can't send that letter. And just capturing of I, and also the factor of something that has to be able to be added to it. And and the web format was like the prime, like it was like the first choice. Okay, the first choice, okay, maybe you click a photograph and you upload it, but the second choice was ki acha, do you reply to it? And I wanted, and suddenly I was like, because I wasn't able to have those conversations with my batchmates, I was like, oh, I want to have conversations with them, because that casual contact of every day wasn't possible. So I so that way I think it sort of led to it. There wasn't like at a particular point where I decided that this has to be this, but somewhere I was clear about the structure of it. Somewhere it has to be a like a commenting structure with the letter format, so you can letter on top of a letter, and there I place my letters. But the like in its exact form now it has come to be through a process. But this thing I had gotten to the root of Kyo, like a structure where there's a possibility to add more letters as the time passes, and present letters are still able to explore. Also that you can sort of reply to individual letters, and there can be the structure of no sending, because it had just become more important to have conversations then,
Yeah,
and to be able to see those conversations. So
definitely.
I hope that answers. I don't have a clear answer to I hope that answers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it does, it does. I mean, you also mentioned that two of the projects were at the cusp of it. I mean, they were about to happen, it means. And if we left with, I mean, 2 or 3 days, 2 or more, 2 or 3 days more, so they definitely going to get happen, and they
Yeah.
were in the site as well. I remember that one of them were of Salman, because you brought a bucket in the
Yeah,
studio itself.
we had prepared everything, but because we were parallelly also like planning a exhibition, and we would have like these walkthroughs of empty and like partially filled spaces with work, and like so it just then it got delayed, and we were like, okay, studio may we had collected all the stuff, and we had to have some white paint for the idea that we had at that point. And me and Salman would every day sort of re-question and come back to the same idea, and our topic was, we were like, we have to make something around rhythms of horror, and it's not screams, it's rhythm. Salman would keep saying, and I'd be like, हाँ बाबा हाँ सही ये कैसे. So uh, and then it was going to be performative. It was yeah, but uh,
Oh,
it
wow.
almost happened 3-4 times, and it almost then it didn't end up happening.
How you decide? I mean, how you and the person, how this happen? I mean, how this process happen of making a portrait? I mean, do you guys talk to each other? What kind of conversation you guys have? Is there any particular way that one has to follow, or what can be done? I mean, can you just share the process of it? I mean, how a portrait becomes a portrait, and what kind of quality one portraits have?
Would you like to share, maybe if this time you began with sort of talking about what our conversations have been, and we are sort of on the cusp of making a portrait which will be on the website soon, and most probably will be by the time this interview goes up. So how would you reflect on the sort of conversations, collaboration we've been having? How would you look at it?
Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Kids are kids. Like, they just want what they want. So yeah, so in a way, your project is collaborative in a sense, and I mean, at least has those qualities of a collaboration. And is the collaboration is happening among all of 12 people, or is it just you and them and a group of like 2 3 people, like two or three of them will going to have a same kind of topic? I mean, and then they each has to like explore what what topic they want. I mean, and I mean, in that topic, what the main thing that they want to show on the top of it. I mean, is there something there in your project, or how the collaboration happen itself?
It's like collaborating individually. Like every portrait has been an individual conversation with the person. It hasn't been a private conversation. With some people it has been, because of the kind of areas we've decided to go into, but that hasn't been like a necessity. Some conversations we've just had, oh, what would you like to do, what would you like to do at the same time with two people, but it has been one on one. That has been the
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, even in my case, the the conversation we are having about so it's what how I see a portrait and how I want to portray myself in your portrait, and how the collaboration will happen. I mean, now that it's in the virtual space, so how that collaboration is going to happen has become a very thing in itself. It becomes quite harder, that where I left and when you enters, and where's that the middle line we draw, and where we both stand together, and giving and taking the same things. I mean, the kind of interaction and the kind of exchange will be there equally. So yeah, I totally understand. I totally getting the thing. So anything that you would like to share about your project? I mean, the one thing that I was thinking about, that how this personal and political started in the beginning, and how it is connected with your project. I mean, is there any connection of personal, political, or these kind of questions, or the queries, or confusions that one has? Uh, I mean, is there anything in your project? I mean, what how you see it, how you bring these things in your letter, how you address them?
I think it has, like within the letters project, I wouldn't say it was in the intention of it. The intention of it was sort of, to just collaborate, to just, and to let in everything that comes in. There were conversations around identity, around anxiety, around vulnerability, around beauty, and to let all of those sort of questions of everything to sort of come in. And the thing of personal and political, and sort of talking about that becomes, I think, more pronounced now, that it has become sort of a web-based project, that it's on view for everyone, and it's on view, and it's out there for everyone to participate. The nature of it has changed, and I think that sort of it isn't that the question wasn't there before, but that nature of it, the structure that you know it has acquired now, वो चीज it brings more, it brings this question of personal, public, private more into question, because the letters are written with a lot of intimacy, with a lot of, you know they are truly what I would write to each of you. but then they are also in a public domain. So there is a consciousness of oh, this might, this exact bit of information. So there is some designing also admittedly going around that, not as in to that major portion of thought have been cut out, but there is some consideration not to name certain names, or like, or not even also because to keep the final product in a way that that makes sense to the public. There is a design in all of it, but still to preserve that personal within, because it is very much like an exhibited personal line, in a sense that intimacy is for everyone to view. So keeping that feeling of intimacy intact is something that has been a very delicate process, and which has led me to think more of the nature of public, personal, political, uh, mm, even more than, let's say, what I would have done had it not been a web-based project. uh, because uh, because if because it's on view, right? It's on view to the public. So there so there's some choices that have to be made around it. There is there intimacy in itself, I think, like if I had to be very very stringent, which I wouldn't be. But if I have to be very very particular and stringent with it, I would say that the letters are not intimate. They refer to intimacy. Because in my head, if had they been intimate, they wouldn't be in the public domain. um, but they're referring to a certain intimacy, and their read through is such that you feel that sort of uh, batchmateness of the thing that I feel that me what me and my addressee feel.
So, as I was listening to this, you also mentioned about the kind of decisions one has to make in designing and how one has to like even in format as well. So I was just thinking that how much these decisions were in the collaboration, or is it uh, is it only in one's hand? I mean, the decisions that one has to make in the designing. So would that person who is going to get captured, or whose portrait is going to be make, or you are writing towards them? So is there any kind of decisions they can also make, or is it only you? I mean, just like that you designed this website. So how this collaboration, I mean, how this collaboration works in these things, the power and the control one has. So where does it end and where does it start? uh, is there any, or is it very obvious? I mean, uh, I'm pretty much sure that it is there somewhere, but yeah, can you just address where does this power relation lies?
Yeah, the power dynamic of it all is um, right from the beginning. I tried to be very clear about that this is a collaborative project, and like, so the pictures that come out, the portraits, I was very clear about that they're not anyone's, they're not my property. So they can be used by uh, by you or me. Let's say if we come up with your portrait, and so the pictures or the concept of them is not my property. but uh, but yeah, there was a certain sense where I was like, oh, So it is like that. It is what it is within the name, that this is a project proposed by me. uh, but and therein lies the power I have in the proposal of it, because I am, I am initiating it. And so I also have to guide it and lead it to completion. So 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 there so there is also certain power in things which do not get discussed. Yeah, like all of the, I've not it isn't how far can one take the collaboration. I've not I have been there when I've clicked the photographs, but then there have been some cases like in like post the lockdown in Aishwarya's case. The idea was that she'll click the photographs and I'll make I'll make like an illustrative painted version of it. And so there was a so some control is also distributed by the idea of it. So I wasn't there when she was clicking the photograph, so I wasn't the one who selected the pose, the dress, and all, but she sends in 4 photographs, and then from that I select one. And the way and with the colors and what choices which go into the making of it have been mine. But they're still like the photographs she clicks, and the piece I've made are still share this authorship, है ना? But then so there is a lot of power in sort of the in the nature of things also, I think, because like even within her, like with, let's say, Herman's photograph, the idea came from him, very much from him. Like I want a shadow captured, and it was just that, it was enough of an idea. And we captured a shadow, and then like Ankur helped me with the camera settings during that shoot. And like, but when I come home and I'm locked down and I'm editing the photo, he's not necessarily sitting with me, right? So I am editing the photo and I make a choice to introduce a lot of color into the image, to bump its saturation, to bump its contrast, to bump its clarity, to and so there is a sort of so there is a lot of power in that. I think had it been that uh, mm, had it been a thing where, you know I you you give me a portrait and I write a letter, it had been an entirely different project. So that in where lies the power play, where it is the proposal of the project is mine. So the execution of it, the design of it also ends up with me. And within power there's responsibility. With responsibility there's a certain power you get if you take the responsibility to initiate and take some things to completion. So that has been there, and there has been certain a different sort of power within every portrait. Just a second. Papa ji? इधर ला दे उधर जगह ही नहीं है पास में Sorry, just a sec. Yeah, so that has been but but there have been like different sort of, it's not very charted out for every portrait, how it has, like how the power dynamic within that collaboration is played out. But that's the idea around it. I hope it helps to explain.
Yeah, sure it does. I mean, many of the viewer now get this idea of how this collaboration in itself helps, and where the ownership and authorship and this power dynamics lies, and even how one can take and leave those those things in one's project when they at least say a collaborative project. So yeah, things come out in this collaboration and you know a, a group project. So yeah, you did it very well, and I hope your project are going to get completed very very soon, and especially those who are in the conversations, just like mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything else that you want to share regarding your project or something else? I mean, how you are. Sorry, just to interrupt you, but I was just thinking that how you take this project ahead. I mean, initially it was between us. I mean, between us, like isn't it in between our 13 of us, but how this project will go across this boundary of like 13 people. So how it will go and reach other people and how they can connect. Is it very easy for them, or is there any other portal where they can, share their feelings, what they have regarding their batchmates? I mean, yeah. So, are you open with that as well, or are you going to be like no? Are you going to be like stick with no? This 13 people or 13 portraits and 13 letters going to be there, and you can only reply to it. I mean, is there some kind of progress or release of this project is happening across this boundary? Uh, I'm just very much interested.
There is some extensions of the project that are happening, like sort of responding to the to what has now become, like the way the structure has developed wasn't exactly in the initial idea of it. So there and it's like it's an open website. Anyone can visit and anyone can write letters as a response to the letters that have been sort of published on the forum. But then, yeah, I've not really thought of wherein like other people come into it and publish their letters. That hasn't been something I've always sort of viewed it as, that people reply to the letters that have been published, because that seems like a way to also initiate the conversation, because at least till now the way each letter has sort of been structured, or sort of has come out, revolves around a certain thing. It doesn't move move very away from it. So but there are other extensions of the project that are in sort of uh, in works, like I'm planning sort of to apply the same structure to not portraits but to keywords, and keywords that are sort of offered by the people who like I propose a project and people register to be a part of the project, and through that registration form they also put in their keywords or offer keywords. And the same way the right now the structure exists of entering a post through a portrait. You enter a post through a keyword, and under that keyword, it's when you enter the keywords, it's just the keyword at the top, and then you can sort of start having a conversation through sending letters below it. And right now I envision it among like a strict group of people with mm, with sort of like an like a time boundary, so that just to encourage that intensiveness of it, and then to see what happens if that conversation. So that kind of a thing, and like to see what the structure brings in, that I'm definitely looking at. But yeah, I think the idea of batchmates for me sort of is still talking about by my batchmates, and then Yeah, of course, if people want to reply to the letters and they want to talk about their batchmates, that is like that is a great thing if it would happen. Yeah.
So everyone can suggest a keyword, right?
Yeah, everyone who registers for it can. I'm still
And
working
who
on
can
the details of it.
okay, okay. And who can who can register the forms, and where are these forms? Uh, I mean, is it also to the limited number of people? I mean, only you are going to invite those people, and they can fill the form and register themselves, and now they can put their idea, or is it something else? I mean,
I'm thinking about it like that. Those are the kind of details I'm still chalking
oh,
out. Like, because I think I think these ideas really differentiate the project. Like these could be individual projects within themselves. Like if the invitation to register is only sent to, let's say, our batch and the Johannesburg students that we had a great conversation with the other day, so that'll mean like an entirely different nature of the project. But let's say it's an open link for anyone to register on Google, and like only those people are sent the link. Then like on Facebook, through our events page, through our website, through like different avenues, if it's just circulated as much, and like, so that I think will be an entirely different, like the nature of it will change. So mm, I'm still, it's still in the works. It's still, I'm still thinking about it, because there's also other things to think. Frankly, I've I have a dissertation to finish. I have a dissertation defense to plan. I have a, yeah. I have to look for jobs. Yeah, look for work after my masters. So yeah, there are things. But I'll continue to for sure continue. But not sure about the time of it. Can't give a deadline.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, this whole conversation regarding your project and the things that helps to initiate it, and even helping uh, the content and the so yeah, these things are there in your budget. I also seen a lot of um uh, I mean, not all of them, but yeah, a few of them, and they are pretty much interesting, and they are talking about that thing without even addressing them. So they are. You also want her portrait there in your website. So yeah, I send her a photograph, huh? So yeah, I guess yeah, that's it. I mean, it's very interesting project, and I'm very much forward to looking it
Actually, I was
on.
hoping, as like to conclude it all, and if you would actually sort of talk a little bit about the conversation that we are having, and or how you what are your experiences with the planning for the portrait, that because our planning has sort of stretched also, and it was something else, and it's become something else, and it becomes something else, and it is going to be something, it is going to be live very soon. So yeah, maybe a good end would be if you sort of go into the, if you share what your experience has been, and like the nitty gritty of it. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to a this word, even portrait, so it shows about a person. I mean, a person who can uh, in that picture, or in that image, or in those boundaries, and they are speaking themselves. But I am very much interested in how that image created, how and what circumstances were there even before creating that image and even after creating that image. I mean, it is not about that image only, that the whole journey of creating that a portrait was very very important and should be considered. And yeah, the kind of fluctuation we have in our collaboration was very much, sort of my personality that keep on changing. So, and and yeah, even when I talk about when I just see and talk about the portrait, I am very much, um, I'm very much, interested in how how that image is going to bring up those connection that you and me have, because it was initiated by you, and the kind and the conversation was happening between you and me. I'm not talking to another person or any other batchmates regarding my project or my portrait, how I want to be seen, how I want to, like, be depicted in that image, and what kind of image I want to be. And yeah, I mean, it was a whole about the whole conversation was in between you and me. So the thing is ki, when you talk to a person regarding how you want to be seen and can be shown in front of everybody, because it's a public uh, portal. So yeah, the thing is ki, what the other person is thinking, I mean, in terms of us, it is you. So what you are thinking and how much you understand me, how much I'm comfortable with talking about sexuality and gender with you, and it has never came in uh, other conversations of mine with other people. So the kind of clarity that you gave me, the kind of questions that you ask to ask to myself was very different. And I kind of, I can't escape from that conversation that we had earlier. I mean, even if we are not thinking about this project, even we are not thinking about how to portray oneself, even this project was not even in its existence. So these things were there in your mind, and it will come up. And how your works I have seen, and how I miss them, and I can't be able to see them right now. I mean, just like one of your initial project of, like, your bluebird. Oh god, your bluebird was there in my mind. I mean, the blue color has some kind of, relation with me. And I mean, I guess with a lot of people, this connection will, I mean, they also feel some kind of connection with blue color. But I know I don't know what kind of relation I have this with this color. And your bluebird was just keep on reminding me these things. And yeah, how much I miss her nowadays. I can't see her, I can't see any kind of conversation happening around it, what she's doing, if she escaped from the bars that has in her eyes. I mean, what happened to her? I'm very much, curious to know what happened to her, because that remains up to you. That is, I haven't seen that any kind of any creature like that. So it was in you. I mean, where does it gone? Is it still alive? Is she like still sleeping, or what's she doing? Is it like in complete ease or something? So I mean, these kind of things will come up. And even if you don't want to have those things, but it will come up, no? It will be there, and it will going to be there in your mind, and the collaboration will happen it in itself. I'm pretty much sure if this project can be initiated by any other person, so the kind of images or the kind of visuals that I am having in my mind was very different. If it was happening with someone else, the whole portrayal of my image was kind of different. And uh, and yeah, the 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 things that we talk about, the things that we consider, the things that we thought about and saw problematic or should be addressed was there, and that will come up in our collaboration. So these kind of conversation that we have not only during this project but the whole semester and the whole course is very important to me, and it it will going to be there in the in the project, in the portrait itself. So yeah, the collaboration will the collaboration works like this in my case. I'm pretty much messed up with the words.
No, no,
I
it
don't
was
have
good. It was
proper
very
words
good.
to
I
use.
liked it. Yeah. I think it was nice because, like, yeah, our conversations haven't been like you are planning something, right? It has been like it. There is a so that was conveyed. I think the feeling of it, the way we had our conversation. Yeah.
So yeah, I have to work on it. I mean, I have to color
You have to put
blue as material that I'm.
the
Yeah.
material. Let's keep the end elusive, even though the portrait would be published. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
let's be mysterious and charming.
yeah. I mean, we are not going to. I mean,
By the way, I like to
disclose
say
the
mysterious and
material.
not charming, but yeah, whatever. I'm so afraid that this whole conversation, that like I know it's at the end now, so I'm like less afraid. But I was so afraid that this whole conversation would turn into just us talking about something else. Like this conversation is about us talking, but us talking is often we can often go off to talk about other things, and we can,
True, so true.
but we
I
stayed on
still remember
topic.
our
I'll
conversation on the
stay on
couch.
topic.
Yeah. What? I
I
didn't
said
heard what you said.
I'm happy we stayed on topic, yeah, this time.
Yeah, true. I mean, it wasn't like we were sitting on the couch on the sofa of your sofa in the studio, and we are doing something, and then we started some conversation, and for 2 hours long we just keep on talking about this thing, and we forgot that, oh, we have to do this thing and we have to submit it, and yeah, it just went on. So yeah, I'm pretty much happy that we just stick on one thing, and we also address so many entry points that help us to think about this project, and how it's going to be in future, and how much one can take the legitimacy with that, and one can share, and how much they have the freedom to share and things. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I guess we have to say bye now.
Yeah.
At least for now.
Bye.
Thank you, Mehak,
Thank you,
to
Sabi.
share this. No, I have to thank you. I mean, it's a very big thing to even think about, to to go to uh, to go about like whole. I mean, you're just writing to all of us, and that is in a very different way, and that going to be remain there. I mean, even after years. So that I should say thank you to you. I
Thank
mean,
you,
you
Sabi.
thought about something, and you yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Mehak. Bye. See you soon.